In the last lecture, we saw different types of attacks on web servers. In this lecture, we will discuss web server pen testing. Web server pen testing is used to identify, analyze, and report vulnerabilities such as authentication weaknesses, configuration errors, protocol related vulnerabilities, and many more in a web server. The best way to perform pen testing is to conduct a series of methodical and repeatable tests and to work through all of different applications to find the vulnerabilities. So why web server pen testing is important? It helps us to detect the vulnerabilities or verify the vulnerabilities, to exploit the vulnerability in order to test and fix the issue. Remediation of vulnerabilities, to retest the solution against vulnerability to ensure that it is completely secure. And identification of web infrastructure, to identify, make, version and update levels of web servers. This helps in selecting exploits to test for associated published vulnerabilities. So let's start with pen testing on web servers. Web server pen testing starts with collecting as much as information as possible about an organization, ranging from its physical location to operating environment. Now, use social engineering techniques to collect information such as human resources, contact details, and many more that may help in web server authentication testing. Use Whois database query tools to get the details about the target such as domain name, IP address, administrative contacts, autonomous system, DNS, etc. Fingerprint web server to gather information such as server name, server type, operating systems, applications running on that system using tools such as Netcraft, HTTPrecon, and IDServe. Crawl website to gather specific types of information from web pages such as email address. Enumerate web server directories to extract important information such as web functionalities, logging forms, etc. Perform directory traversal attack to access restricted directories and execute commands outside of the web server's root directory. Perform a vulnerability scanning to identify weaknesses in a network using tools such as Acunetics, Nessus, etc. We have seen Nessus in the vulnerability assessment section. Perform HTTP response splitting attack to pass malicious data to vulnerable application that includes data in an HTTP response header. Perform web cache poisoning attack to force the web server's cache to flush its actual cache content and send a specially crafted request which will be stored in the cache. Brute force SSH, FTP and other services login credentials to gain unauthorized access. Perform session hijacking to capture valid session cookies and IDs. Use tools such as Burpsuit, Fireship, JHijack to automate session hijacking. Next, perform MITM, that is the man-in-the-middle attack, to access sensitive information by intercepting and altering communications between an end user and web server. Use tools such as Webalizer, AWStats, KTmative, etc. to examine web server logs. And in the end, use tools such as Metasploit, W3AF to exploit frameworks and document all the findings. I hope you got an overview of how to perform network pen testing on web servers. In the next lecture, we will see some countermeasures of web servers.